So today we will discuss the risks of using tools. It is good that we have tools and there are benefits, but at the same time, one coin has two sides. The same way, there are some risks of using tools. So, risks of tool support. So, what are the risks we face? Unrealistic expectations. When we start using a tool, we think that these tools are magic stick and they will do everything. Yes.
Yes.
As for example, functionality and ease of use. First, when we start using the tool, we need to know the tools first, how it works and what are the functionalities we can get from the tool. Yes,
Yes.
it is not that as for example, people say that you learn Selenium and you get a job. Yes,
Yes.
but the effort we have to put, so that will come. We have to know how difficult Selenium is, how we can use it. Yes. So these things
Yes.
should be, it's not a magic. We started learning and we will learn. We need to put our effort. This is what I want to say. Next is underestimated initial production costs, time and effort. Okay, not production, introduction
Yes.
cost. So we underestimate the initial introduction cost. When we introduce any tool to our organization, it takes time. Yes, we
Yes.
have to buy the tool. Even if it is the tool is free, people have to give effort to learn it. Yes, so that
Yes.
cost money. So when we introduce a new tool, we don't know how much exactly it will cost and we underestimate it. Time, how much time people will take to understand. Yes,
Yes.
and effort, like training and expertise, external expertise. Sometimes we don't know if in our organization the testers we have, the developers we have, they might not have used this kind of tool previously. Then we have to hire some external expertise and we have to provide external training. And this
Yes.
external training might be expensive.
Oh.
Next, underestimating the time and effort needed to achieve the benefits. So when we start the project, we have a plan, effort needed to achieve the benefits. Yes. So when we start using the project, we have a plan, and as per the plan, we have said the objectives we have stated. We want to achieve certain stage in testing using these tools. But we underestimate it. We don't know how much effort do we need to give. Yes, like
Yeah.
the need for changes in the testing process. If we are doing everything manually, means manual testing, then you don't know how many processes we need to change so we can comply with the automation processes and continuous in improvement of the way the tool is used. And we are learning how to use the tool. So we go along, we will find new things about the tools. So we always underestimate it, the time and effort we have to give to achieve the expected benefits. Over reliance on the tool. Sometimes we over rely on a tool. Yes.
Yeah.
When we buy a tool or when we start using a tool, we will say, okay, this tool will do everything and we don't need to do anything. And this is the reason sometimes manual testing is far better than using a tool. I give you a very good example of my over reliance, and everybody might be using it. Whenever I want to go somewhere, I don't plan any journey. Okay, I have the postcode whenever I need to go anywhere. I'll say, okay, give me the postcode, and in my sat nav, I will put the postcode. Sometimes there might be some settings, so the route is calculated, okay, based on the previous settings, previous configuration. Sometimes some people they say that they want to avoid the motorway. Yes,
Yeah.
And as per the settings, what happens? They might take you narrow route to go somewhere. And instead
Okay.
of 2 hours, you might end up spending 5 hours on the road.
Yes.
So this is over reliance on the tool. In the same manner, we said, okay, we have Selenium, we will just do it. But we have to put effort. Sometimes it doesn't work. Some functionality doesn't satisfy. So this is what sometimes manual testing is better. Any question?
No.
Any question so far?
No.
Okay, next. Neglecting version control and maintenance of test assets generated. So every time we write the test cases in one of the tools, we say, okay, or prepare. So we have to maintain this version control and store everything, yes, version by version. So what happens? We can track the changes. So when we started using the tools and we generate number of different versions in our test cases and test scripts, we start neglecting the version controls and stop maintaining. This is the issue. Because of this, we want to track something in future. It becomes very difficult because you frequently make changes. In manual, you don't make that changes frequently, yes, but in automation, that changes are frequent. And because of that, we start sometimes neglecting this version control. And in future, because of that, we face so many issues. Neglecting interoperability issues between tools. Neglecting interoperability issues between tools. Yes, when we start using the tools, we might be using one tool, two tools, three tools like that. Yes, so we have to integrate them to achieve our benefits, to work, to eat, to achieve our objectives. So in this case, what happens? When we try to integrate it, we neglect the interoperability issues like when we buy tools from different vendors. Yes,
Yes.
vendor A is providing some tool, vendor B is providing some tool, and we might be integrating them. At that time, we face this issue when we need to integrate them. We have vendor risks. What are the vendor risks? Goes out of the business. The vendors might be going out of the business. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
We bought something from a specific vendor, but they have stopped the business. What to do now? Retires the tool. We bought a tool, after some times they will say, okay, this tool is no longer competent or fit enough for the present purpose, so we are going to retire it. And we are still using the tool, then that in that case we will not get any support.
Yeah.
Most of the time this happens, sells it to a different vendor. This vendor will sell the business or the tool to a different party, different vendor. Like Mercury developed, it used to be called quality. I forgot the name even. QTC, yes.
Yeah.
It used to call QTC. Let me just Q. Okay, this was a tool kind. QTC was a tool. So what does QCC stands for? Correct? No. Quality control, something like that. I forgot. I should not have forgotten this name. QTC test tool. No, it's not QTC. It's QTP. That's why.
Okay.
Yes, quick test professional. See, this was one of the tools developed by Mercury long time back, and then HP acquired it. When the HP acquired, you know that we keep on improving the tools. They improved and they changed the tool name to UFT, Unified Functional Test. So this is
Okay.
what happens. One vendor build it and then they will sell it to someone. So in this case, we will face issues. Poor support. We started using a specific tool. We bought it, but the support we need to get it's poor. We don't get exactly what we need. And in this case, we face what to do. We don't have any clue at one phase. Yes.
Yeah.
Infrequent upgrades. Infrequent. So normally what happens when we buy a tool or when we are using a tool or when we have a tool, based on the functionality change, we should have frequent changes, frequent upgrades. Like you are using any phone, iPhone, then iOS changes, the upgrades occurs every some regular time. Yes.
Yes.
Android exactly the same thing frequently, but sometimes with some of the tools they will say, okay, we will release product every 6 weeks. Sometimes they will release every 6 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes 10 weeks. Yes. So it
Yes.
should be 4 weeks, then 4 weeks. It's not like with 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So infrequent upgrade. And because of that, we face so many other issues, come some configuration issues with some of the, if we are doing cross browser testing, then it might have some negative impact on this kind of testing. Slow tool defect fixing. This is one of the important ones. Slow tool defect fixing. We are also using a software to test it. Yes,
Yes.
it's a tool, a software. So it will have some defects too. They have released it, but they are working and they are building and they will have defects. So at the same time, they have some defects and they are also, they need to fix it, but they are fixing it slowly. And because of tools defects, we are unable to identify what we exactly need to achieve and what we exactly need to do. I give you a very good example in smart metering. When I started in the initial phase, we were using a tool called, I forgot the name again, G GTF. Okay, this is the name called GTF is a tool. It had some defects, and when we were using, we are unable to identify. We are unable to conclude what is wrong. Is it wrong with the meter or the tool? And at the same time, we had so many discussions. We have meetings against meetings, and in the end, the manager comes to the conclusion: we are not testing the tool. We are testing the devices. Yes, we are not testing the GTF tool because of the GTF defects, we were unable to achieve and we were unable to conclude. We were unable to isolate the defect. Yes.
Yes.
Next, risks of suspension of open source free tool project. So when we have the open source tool, yes, means free tool, you can say. If you want to understand what is open source, it doesn't stand for just free tool. Okay,
Okay.
it's open for sourcing. So you can go and give your input. You can contribute your knowledge or your time to build the tool. Like Selenium is a free tool. People, those
Okay.
who have time, they contribute and they help to maintain and build this tool. Okay, so there are so many free tools there. Eclipse is free. I was using the other day Writer. Sometimes I was using other tools and they directly say that it's a free tool. People maintain giving the time, so it depends on the donation. So please donate your some money or something like that.
Okay.
So if it is a free tool, open source, yes, for example, I am giving my input. Yes,
Yes.
if I'm giving my input, all of a sudden I say I don't want to give the input, then it will have some issue with the open source tool. So risk of suspension, people stop contributing and the tools remain there and we won't be able to use it. Yes.
Yes.
Unforeseen issues. Issues like inability to support the new platform. When we change the platform, these tools might not be able to support these new platforms. This is the risks we face with the tool support. Any question?
What is unforeseen issue means?
What?
Unforeseen.
Unforeseen means we might not have kept in mind. So these things are then when we start using a tool. But some of the issues we will face we might not have thought of. As for
Okay.
example, we start using a tool, we will think of the current environment. But what happens after few years? We want to change the environment. As for example, I give you one example. Some application is built just for Chrome. Yes,
Yeah.
and we started using a tool. It supports everything fine, and all of a sudden the demand has come. People started using other browsers. Safari. Some people have MacBook, and when we go to the Safari, it is not working. Yes, so
Yes.
customers will raise some complaints that this specific things doesn't work in Safari.
Okay.
Then what you have to do? This is unforeseen issue. We never ever thought new browser come and people will demand this should work in the new browser.
Yes.
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 So this unforeseen means we never thought of the issues we will face. They are known as unforeseen issues. Any
Okay.
other question?
So we cannot reduce this risk.
Can you repeat? I hear you very low today.
Okay, just wait. I'm saying we cannot do anything for reducing this risk.
Yes, we can do. These are the risks. So when we select the tool or tools, we need to keep these in mind and accordingly take some steps so it reduces these risks. So the next few things we will discuss the same thing. How to select the tools, what are the factors we need to keep in mind when we select the tools. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
After 2 3 slides today itself we will discuss how we can select the tools, what to keep in mind. Yeah, success factors for deployment and everything is there. The next few slides concentrate on that. Any other question?
No.
Any other question?
No.
Okay, so we have to, as you say, let's this is the next thing coming. Specific considerations we need to keep in mind for some tools. Yes, so special, you can say, considerations for some types of tools. Let's, for example, you are selecting test execution tool. Yes, so when you are selecting test execution tool, what you are going to keep in mind? Scripting requires considerable effort. You want to learn Selenium. Yes, in and Selenium supports so many languages. Selenium supports so many different languages. Selenium supports so many different languages. So you need to learn one of the languages to script your test cases. Yes. So scripting requires considerable effort. It is not that you woke up and start scripting. It needs, as for example, we are going to learn Java, then some effort should be given to learn Java first. Scripting requires expertise. Scripting requires expertise. So whenever you want to script something, when you need to write the code, you need to understand the language or the scripting language properly, and accordingly you start. Otherwise, it won't be possible to give your best. Yes, you don't need to be that much expert as a tester, but it still needs expertise. Capturing may not scale up to large volumes. Whenever you want to achieve something, it might not be the large scale you wanted to achieve. Yes. So when you want to capture the test cases, or when you want to capturing may not scale up to large volumes. Yes. At the beginning of the project, you say that we will buy a tool, we will start using a tool, and we want to automate certain level of things, and we want to achieve it. It might not be that case. Yes. Capture scripts are linear and can be unstable. The scripts you wrote in simple format, understand, they might be not they might not be stable. Yes. And can be unstable. It might be having so many issues. It When we have some changes, it might work today, it might not work tomorrow. We need to keep in mind. Expected results have to be stored either way. If you are using a tool or you are doing manual, yes, any testing you are doing, you need to store the expected result. Without expected result, you will not achieve what you want to achieve. The keyword driven approach. Any question with so far?
No. No.
No question. Okay, so let's move to the next. The keyword driven approach. So when we are using these tools, we can implement one approach called keyword driven approach. What is keyword driven approach? There might be few things in here, but you can say, in order to understand, you can say that you have an Excel book. In that Excel book, based on the functionalities or based on the functions you are testing, you define specific keywords, and you get these keywords from this Excel file, and you do your test execution. Means write the script, design your test cases, and then carry on your work. This is known as keyword driven approach. This will be exactly the same for data driven approach. Okay,
Okay.
but instead of keyword, we can have data, and we get the data from an Excel book. Uses a generic script. So you have a generic script, standard script you have, it is going to work for literally everything. You are just data, the keywords are different, and these keywords are coming from an Excel book. Yes. So you say input data embedded in a spreadsheet. Yes. Again, keywords embedded in the spreadsheet. Exactly the same thing with data driven. As I explained, I can say data driven testing. It's not driver, it's driven. Okay. Exactly the same thing. What is this? Uses a generic script. Yes. You use input data embedded in a spreadsheet. Yes. Then you say input data generated by parameterizing parameterize algorithm. So you have the data, and based on your requirements, you have the data, and this data are stored in an Excel book, and accordingly we have the generic test cases or script that will get the data from the Excel file, and accordingly the test execution is done. Keyword, when we use keyword driven approach, these keywords are also known as action words. Why action words? When you are searching for a job, yes,
Yes.
on anywhere somewhere, then you will say software testing. So software testing are the keywords. Trainer, as for example, somebody is looking for trainer, then how they can look for the trainer? They search by the trainer. If I go to the LinkedIn and if I have my profile, in my profile I have also put that selenium trainer. So they search by the keyword trainer, and my CV pops up, and they start looking at my CV. Yes, so these are the keywords. They are also known as action words. Any question?
Data means also like that same,
You are so
write a
low
script.
today.
Oh no. Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Can you
Hello?
hear?
Yes, go
Yes.
on.
I'm saying data driven approach is also same like write the script, design it and test it.
No, I can't hear you. I got
Hello.
disturbance. Go on again.
Data driven approach is same like write the script, design it and test it.
Okay, you are asking data driven approach is the same. Yes, exactly the same. If you use data driven approach or you keyword driven approach, there is no different way of doing it. Exactly
Okay.
the same. There is one little bit difference. In Excel book, you will have just data for data driven. For keyword
Okay.
driven,
Okay.
you might have two Excel workbook. In one Excel workbook, you have keywords. In another, you might be giving the data. Yes,
Yes.
but doing is exactly the same. You have generic script and getting the data from an Excel file.
Oh.
You can have different way, okay, but I have explained you about this data driven. Any other
Okay.
question?
No.
Okay, next is model based testing. So as we have discussed, we are going to use model based testing. We have the models and accordingly we will test it. Model based testing tools enable a functional specification to be captured in the form of a model. So what we are going to do, we capture functional specification. What are the functionalities the software is going to deliver to be captured? Yes,
Yes.
into the form of a model. So that will be in the form of a model. Yes, such as an activity diagram. So for the specific model, we have the diagram. Based on the diagram, the software is built. Yes, for end-to-end scenario. So this task is generally performed by a system designer. So the system designer, based on the functionalities, they will prepare the diagram from where the data is flowing and how. Yes, in model-based testing, in the tool you can say interprets the model in order to create test cases specification. So this tool is used to design the test cases which can then be saved in the test management tool, and then after we are going to save these test cases into test management tool, and accordingly we will execute these test cases by a test execution tool, or we can execute sometimes some test cases manually. So what happens, we have the model, and this model has some specifications, functional specifications, and based on the functional specifications we have the diagrams, and these diagrams are prepared by the system designer, and from that we will design the test cases, we will derive the test cases, and accordingly these test cases are stored in test management tool and executed accordingly. Any
Okay.
question?
No.
Okay, the next one is test management tool. You can explain this one. Yes,
Yeah.
what it does here, this test management tool may interface to other tools spreadsheets to produce required report format. So as for example, earlier we discussed this test management tools can have different interfaces. Configuration management tool, yes, requirement management tool. Accordingly, it says that may need interfaces, so it needs interfaces to do these activities. Any question?
No.
So this is the most important topic which you have asked already. So when you want to select a tool, you will not you want to buy a tally, yes, then you will go and you will do some research. You will not randomly go and buy it. Yes,
Yes.
people like me, I do it. I just go and just get it. That's it. I don't pay. But when we buy specific tool, we have to give so much consideration. Yes. So what are the main considerations we have to keep in mind for the
Yes.
tool selection? Considerations for tool selection. Yes. Assessment of organizational maturity, strength and weaknesses. We have to assess our own maturity, how mature our organization is, how much strong our organization is, and what are the weaknesses we are facing. So when we analyze this, when we assess this, we don't go by the building structure, we go by the team people, the resources we are having, the knowledge they have. Yes, understood? When we are doing development,
Yes.
then how mature our development processes are. We have the employees, how strong they are in Java, how strong they are in the specific language, how strong they are in the specific tools we are using for the development. Yes, how strong they are with the domain knowledge, and weaknesses if they have any weaknesses. So assessment of organizational maturity, strength and weaknesses. Yes. The next one is identification of opportunities for test process improvement using tools. We need to identify if we have to improve the test processes we are using. Yes, for test process improvement using tools. Evaluation against clear requirements and objective criteria. We have to evaluate the tool against what is our requirements and what our objectives want, what we want to achieve. You just can't randomly buy a tool or select a tool. You need to evaluate what are your requirements. Do you have clear requirements? And at the end of the project, what are your objectives? Are you able to achieve these objectives using the specific tool you are going to select? Yes. Evaluation against clear requirements and objectives. Yes. Evaluation of the vendor, the person who is selling the tool, you need to evaluate that as well. Yes. Why do you want to evaluate the vendor? What if the vendor is new, the vendor doesn't know what to do, and that vendor goes out of the business? Yes. You need to see any free trial is available. Yes, for any tool you are buying or selecting, then you need to use this free trial, and accordingly you can say this is the things we have observed during our trial period. We can have this tool or we can't have this. We need to go to the another tool. Evaluation of the supplier, the person or the supplier who is going to supply the tool. Yes, we need to evaluate exactly the same thing as previous. Is the supplier stable, mature business, or can shut down anytime? How much support they are able to provide? Identification of test team training needs. Training needs, yes. If we buy the tool or select the tool, how much training do we need to provide to the testers? We need to identify. Licensing, we need to make sure, is it a licensed tool or a free tool? Licensed tool means we have to pay money on monthly or yearly. Yes.
Yes.
Is it worth paying license fees? If it is free tool available, are we able to use the free tools? We need to assess this thing. Estimation of a cost benefit ratio. You need, when we start using a tool or selecting a tool, you need to say how much money you are going to invest. and how much benefits you can get. Yes, that we have to estimate it. If we are going to spend more money and you are not going to achieve the benefits you want to get or obtain, it's not worth using that specific tool. And this ratio should be a concrete business case. It is not just informal stuff, it should be formal. Yes, everything should be written, everything should be in black and white. And finally, you should have proof of concept. Whatever you are saying, it should be in black and white. When I say proof of concept means, yes. And what questions you should ask? Does it perform with software under test? That software we are going to test, are we going to use it? Can we use it? Does it fit it? Does it work within the current infrastructure? Will the software work in the current infrastructure? Would an infrastructure change be necessary when we start using the tool? Do we need to change the infrastructure of the test processes? These are the questions we need to ask and then select a tool. If we don't ask these questions and select the tool, if we select a tool without any assessment, what will happen? Our project will get derailed and we end up spending more money and not achieve our objectives we have set. Yes, this is the end of the considerations, the factors you need to keep in mind for the tool selection. Any question?
No.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So you have selected the tool. Yes. Will you roll out
Yes.
this tool to the whole organization the same time? No. As for example, you have might have learned the process of India when the government of Gujarat changes the syllabus for any standard in the primary school, secondary school, or higher secondary school. What they will do? They will select like 100 schools first, yes,
Yes.
and then the next year they might double it or triple it, and the third year they will deploy, implement the new syllabus all over the state. This kind of thing is known as pilot projects. Okay, so when
Okay.
you select a tool and when you are deploying a new tool in your organization, you need to do pilot project. So what happens in
Okay.
the pilot project? You don't introduce the tool to the whole organization the same time. Yes, you roll out this tool to one team first, then second, then third, and accordingly to the whole organization. So now you are having the pilot project, so you can deploy a new tool in your organization. So what are the objectives you need to keep in mind when you have a pilot project? Learn more detail about the tool. Yes, you are going to learn more detail about the tool you are using. So you have to give your input. Just first learn the tool, how the tool works. Yes, first thing you need to keep in mind how to use the tool. Nobody knew how to use a new tool. Then what happens? Then you have to learn it. Yes, evaluate fit with existing processes and practices. You need to evaluate this tool and verify that it fits the existing processes and practices we have in the organization related to testing. And you need to also keep in mind if you need to change any processes or practices. Determine what would need to change, yes, and then you need to determine what needs to be changed. Yes, determine what needs to be changed. If you start using the specific tool, decide on standard ways of using, managing, storing, maintaining the tool. Now you are using a tool. Yes, so it is not just headache to maintain your script, but you need to keep in mind how you will maintain the standard of the specific tool, how you will use the tool, how you will manage the tool, how you will store and maintain this tool. Yes,
Yes.
keep in mind using, managing, storing, and maintaining the tool. If you don't know, then it is a problem. Then you have bought it, you started using. Yes, and at that
Yes.
stage, what happens? Oh, you don't know how to maintain the specific tool. Maintaining generated, and in that specific tool itself, we have to maintain our assets. Generated assets means maintain our test cases, maintain our frameworks, maintain our projects. And in that specific tool, you need to consider how you will maintain the test cases you have built in the specific tool. Assess if benefits will be achieved at reasonable cost. And the most important thing, you need to assess the benefits. Yes, at a reasonable cost. You have spent money, you are getting benefits. But what if you are spending more money and less benefits are there? Yes. So, as a business, you need to keep in mind you spend less and get more benefits. So, this you need to learn, or these should be the objectives of your pilot project. Any question?
No.
Any question?
No.
Okay, now you have done the pilot project. So now you are deploying the tool to the whole organization. So how you can, what you can do? So you need to have the success factors. If you keep these success factors in mind, then your deployment would be successful. Yes. Success factors for deployment. Rolling out across the organization incrementally. Yes. You
What is
don't
the
roll out this
Brijesh
new
bhai, what is
tool to the whole organization the
Brijesh
same
bhai,
time. You roll out to the one team first, then two teams, then five teams, and overall and the end, like whole organization. Yes, out across the organization incrementally, not the same times, slowly, stable, team by team. Yeah, adapting and improving processes to fit with tool use. So we have to adapt and improve the processes to fit with the tool. Yes, to fit with the tool. Providing training and coaching, mentoring for new users. We have to provide training for the to the new users. Training. Yes, exactly the same. Training, coaching, mentoring to the new users. Defining usage guidelines. We have to have the guidelines how we can use this tool. Yes, that's why whenever you buy something, you have the manual. So we should have to roll out the manuals how to use the tool. Implementing a way to gather information from usage. And when we go along using the tool, we need to implement a way to gather the information. Yes. So we can improve the tool or improve the usage of a tool. Yes.
yes,
Mentoring tool use and benefits, monitoring tool use and benefits. We go along when we start using the tool, we need to monitor the usage and the benefits. What are the benefits and how we are using the tool? So we can improve these processes. We can improve the how to use usage in future, and it saves money. It gives more benefit in one go. Yes. Monitoring tool use and benefits. Providing tool support to the test team. The test team is going to use the tool, so we need to provide support. Just providing training is not important. What if anything goes wrong and somebody has some questions in the middle? Yes,
yes,
so we need to provide tool support. because when we start using, we will have more and more questions and more functionalities to be covered, and in that way we need to have support all the time. Yes, gathering lessons from all teams, and we need to gather the lessons from all the teams what they have learned, and accordingly we can deploy the tool all over the organizations. These are the success factors of deploying a tool all over the organization. Any question?
No.
And the final thing you need to keep in mind, final thing, what tool you have is not important. Yes, how you use it is important. Okay, what tool
Okay.
you have is not important. How you use it, how you use it is important. If your organization is small, new, they might not be using any tool. They might be using just Excel book. But how you use Excel to prepare your test cases for your test metrics, your reporting. So how you use is important. You might be given anything, but you don't know how to use it. That is a worthless. Yes, not worth.
Yes.
So you can say a fool with a tool is still a fool. This is the meaning of a fool with a tool is still a fool. If you don't know how to use a tool, if we are fool, then it remains if we can't achieve whatever we want to achieve. Yes. And you need to keep in mind tools are not a cure for poor testing methods. If your testing processes are immature, defective, then if you start using a tool, that is not the cure. You need to first improve your test processes to achieve the best objectives, best benefits, yes, and then start using a tool. Any question?
No.
And this ends the chapter 6.
Oh, chapter is finished.
Yes.